Hey there, welcome to the Mountain of God. My name is Camille. Today is 26th of May 2021. Welcome to video number 36. Today I want to do something like second part of what I talked about yesterday. But today I want to talk about self-discovery. And I want to explain to you why I believe that this is the journey that your father prepared for you, but nobody really told you about. And it's gonna base quite substantially of what I've talked about yesterday. So if you haven't seen yesterday's video, I would suggest to go there because I talked about a lot of the background that I'm gonna be using as an axiom today. So if you didn't, just go there, pause this video. I'm not going anywhere. But that being said, in yesterday's video, in just few words, I basically told you that everything in your life matters. Because it was created intentionally by your father. It was created in a spiritual realm, so everything that you touch, everything that is here, has its own, like a spiritual equivalent or reason. And I basically told you that you'll be surprised with what you're going to discover if you pay attention to those small things that are standing out. And I want to go even deeper and explain it and give you like a practical implementation, what you're supposed to understand, what you're supposed to do to discover what does it even really mean. So there are three stages to understand this and three things that you're supposed to do to make it all happen. First of all, based on the fact that now we are supposed to understand that everything was created for a reason, everything that happens and everything that is intentional. Then I want you to look at yourself. I want you to look at your own personality, on your own body, on your own emotions, intellect. And I want you to kind of see, even maybe ask yourself, what do you think about yourself? How do you see yourself? Because probably at least some of you, if not more than half, you will see flaws and you will see that you're not enough. That there's so much to improve, so much it could be better. But I want you to look at yourself and on this level of self-awareness that you've got about yourself, or kind of your self-esteem that you have. And look at it from a true perspective of yesterday's video. I want you to ask yourself, how is that possible that I'm thinking that I'm not enough? How is that possible that I think that I'm kind of like a mistake, I'm like a freak? And yet, at the same time, everything that was created about me was created intentionally. How is that even possible that it exists at the same time? Because how is that possible that I was created, as created as I am, it was intentional, and I see myself as a failure. And you see, this is one of the things that nobody probably told you about. That your life was created as a journey. Because one of the major things that God put in us is this need for creativity and need for progress. That's why I want to look at yourself not as a mistake, or at least, some part of you. And I want you to look at yourself as a project with a lot of potential. Project that was created exactly in this entry stage, so you could be able to build it and so you'll be able to kind of enjoy the journey of becoming who you're supposed to become. If you do that, you'll start to see and understand that every strength that you have was there for a reason, and you're supposed to do something about it. And every so-called weakness or things that you think that are not enough, they were put there and given to you for a reason, intentionally, so you could understand what was really the intention behind it. So you see, in very practical terms, what I want you to do, or I would suggest, I'm completely sure that it's going to change your life. Take a piece of paper and write down 3 things that you see as your strengths and 3 major things that you see as your weaknesses. And do one very simple thing. Go to your father, to your praying closet, and ask him about each and every one of them. The best idea would be to start with one. You can take strength or weakness and tell him that for the next week or 2, please tell me, what do I supposed to understand about this, let's say, characteristic, my strength or my weakness, and what I supposed to understand, and how, and I want you to kind of show me. I want you to show me in examples in my own life, the things that might happen in the next week or 2, so I would understand why this thing is my strength, and how I supposed to see value in this. Because even if I see it as a strength, it might be not used. Maybe you're not experienced enough. I want you to show me how you want to use this. And if you're going to go through strengths, go through the weaknesses. And that might be surprising to you, because then if you ask the same question, just explain to me why it's there, how am I supposed to understand and what I'm supposed to do with this. He will show you that some of the things that are your weaknesses, you're just supposed to fix. You're just supposed to overcome it. Like this kid who cannot walk, and it complains that God created me with no ability to walk. No, He created you with the potential to walk, an ability to walk, if you practice it long enough. And then if you do this, you'll be like this little child who just starts, doing these first steps. He's like, oh, I can walk. This is exactly going to happen to you if you kind of start to see that it was given to you on purpose, so you'll be able to make progress and enjoy this whole thing. Especially because He's just right next to you, just holding your hands, so you would start to learn how to walk. But even more exciting would be when you start to look at your weaknesses and start to see that something that you think is a weakness, it's really a strength, just if you look at it from a different perspective. Let me show you an example. As my friend just told me like a few hours ago, you're a very emotional guy. And I said, true. And in a man's world, it can be treated as, weakness. It's just like, you're just an emotional guy. Don't get me wrong. I don't cry, without a reason. It's not that kind of, being emotional. But I do feel, I have this ability to kind of feel the same thing as other people feel. I am much more sensitive to emotions. But when I start to look at it from a different perspective, like how I would see that as a strength, then when I saw how God created me in general, and he showed me how I can look at people and observe and read people, something I told you about, the photography a few videos ago. Now I can see that not only I can read people, but I can feel the same things that they feel. And it makes me a really great friend, and it creates me a very good social person. I'm a people person. Just because I can feel what they feel, I can kind of put myself in their shoes, and it's so much easier for me to make new friendships or to help people just talking to them, just because I'm gonna be that in feeling what they feel and putting myself in their shoes much better than most of the other people. Something that I could take as a weakness, I can take as a strength, just because I understood why it's there, and in combination with the other gifts that I have, it's a perfect solution. So that's why, point number 1, write down your strengths, write down your weaknesses, and give God time, a week, 2, a month, fast if you need to, so Him to explain to you why He gave you those strengths or the weaknesses, and let He show you in like live examples how you're gonna be great in it, so you could see even your weaknesses as a point of strength. Point number 2. And I'm going to come back to the things that we were talking about yesterday, about those things that stand out. I want you to look at them not like as something that hunts you down, and I told you yesterday, you're just supposed to dig in it and it'll show you much more. But I want you to see and kind of understand finally understand this concept that there's always a bigger picture. There's always more. There's always another level. There's always another layer that got created in you. There's so much more about you that you don't even comprehend that. And one of those things that you'll be able to use as a gateway to understand those depths are those things that stand out. Because this is how I see this. This is you, your strengths, your weaknesses, your character, your emotions, your intellect, your whole being. But underneath that, there is a much bigger plane of potential that your Father put in you. And there are levels of this potential, level of this understanding, level of brilliance that He put there in you as like a treasures, like a hidden truths or hidden abilities that you don't even know about. And the only person who knows that is Him. Why? Because He sees you through the filter, not of you or just of your personality as you are, as how He created you, this work in progress, but He sees you through the potential that He put in you. And interestingly enough, this is like a deeper layers, deeper levels of your own identity, and you can discover them. You can enter and start learning the lessons by the things that stand out, which are not really yours. They're just like pathways that you can take to understand something about yourself. And I told you yesterday about me kind of using my fascination about drumming as a complete kind of gateway to understand my gifting and how this connects two major gifts in my life. For those of you who haven't watched this video, I was fascinated with drumming just because of my brother and other people that I saw drumming, but it was never my thing. But when I start to see that drumming just it just haunts me. There's something in that I'm supposed to understand. I start to see and start to play drums a little bit just to feel how I'm going to feel. And I discovered that I love it. I love rhythm. But then I understood that there was a time when I was in ministry of worship. And then I understood how drums playing role in there. But then I was kind of put in the intercession and spiritual warfare to at least some degree. And then I saw how drums are playing role in war as an instrument of war, an instrument of that has an ability to make people feel the vibe that they're supposed to feel when they're fighting. That's why drums were many times used in a war on the battlefield. And then interestingly enough, I was able, by discovering this small thing, this small truth about myself, I was able to do something that not many people understand, at least from my perspective and discussions with people. You will have people who are worshippers, who won't understand intercessors, and you'll find intercessors who are not able to understand worshippers, because there are completely two different ways of looking at the world. But what I have is ability to connect this two, because now this small truth about drums showed me that I can connect this two. And now I can be a worshipper, but I can be a battle worshipper, which is someone who is able to use worship in intercession. And I can be an intercessor, and I can be an intercessor who can use music in intercession. For me, those two worlds are completely one. They're connected to the bridge of drums in my case. And now I see worship and intercession as a huge power, because they're not selective, they're connected. Not many people understand that. So you see, that's why I'm saying there's some things that will stand out, that will be like a gateways to this lower tier of potential that got put in you, that you'll discover completely additional things to your character itself. And then you understand that these truths are based on His potential, because He didn't create you just as a person, someone who has flaws over here, strengths over here, but you can't do that. You're kind of okay in that. That's how we many times feel. But if you understand that everything was put here everything was created for a reason, then you'll start to understand that it's a blasphemy, it's a spitting in your Father's face when you say, I'm not good enough. Because when he created you, he looked at you and say, this is good. Because nothing that he created is bad. Nothing. What about Satan? Well, he created him perfectly. Satan made a choice. Let's have that out of the way. So if you understand that he created you as a perfect creation, intentionally created as you were, you'll start to see that because of his creativity, there has to be more levels. There has to be more to it. So that's why what I want you to do. Not only go through your strengths and weaknesses and ask him for help, but then write down the things that stand out. Because that'll be the gateway for you to understand much more and start to digging into this potential that is under you, which is bigger than your personality. And then point number 3, the moment you will start to see and understand who you are, understand the tweaks that you want to do with yourself to kind of feel even more comfortable with yourself. But then when you start digging into the potential, you start to see that there's so much more about you that you ever thought. But then you'll be able to put, as I did with the worship and intercession, you'll be able to put those things together. And you start to see an amazing thing. You'll start to see a linkage. And you start to see that there's connection in between things that are seemingly completely not connected. Some experiences that you had with the things that you figure out about yourself. Your flaws or of your character with the things you just discovered as standing out, and you start to see that it all makes sense. It all fits together. Because when that's going to start happening, you start to see yourself from above, from a high, and you start to see this is a perfect picture. Everything makes sense. Now every situation in my life, every positive or negative experience, every characteristic, that flaw that I thought it's a flaw, now you'll see that it's not really a flaw, because now it fits, and it's a strength. And then you'll start to understand, because you'll see these connections, you'll start to understand that there's so much more about you that you ever thought possible. To the degree that you're going to stand next to yourself and you would not believe what you see. You'll look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is not me. And then you'll understand that there is no such thing. It's a false thing to have false humility. Something that many people from churches are struggling with. The thing that, everything is Father, everything is just nothing, it's me. But then everything was put in me for a reason. It is a plan, it's a journey. The self-discovery, it's not only discovery of the world that I enjoy, but self-discovery, it's seeing what potential he put in me. And it's not me, it's not mine. Any atom in your body, it's not yours, it's his. So let's stop with this false humility thing, because it hurts everyone. But one additional thing that will happen when you start praying, experiencing things about yourself, you're going to start experiencing and trying and understanding things that stand out, which are the gateways to your potential, to discover things that you never thought that they are in you. Then you'll not only start to understand this in theory, but then he'll start to teach you in practice. Because it's not about knowing, it's about being fluent. It's about being experienced enough so you will become this amazing machine, so complex and so sophisticated. Machine that is able to do what it was created for. And then you will understand one even more bigger thing, that your calling and your plan that he has for you, the things that he wants you to achieve in your life, it's not something only that you're supposed to achieve in here, in this earth, but also in the next world. Because your calling and your calling was created not for you as a person, but for the machine, the potential that he sees in you. Because he ranked up your calling to the picture that he sees in you in your full potential. That will completely change your life, and how you see yourself, because then you will see that's not me. That's why my calling is so above my head, so much more that I will never be ready to get into it. That's because your potential is something that was given to you. That's why your self-discovery, it's a journey that you're supposed to experience, and journey that's supposed to show you that there's nothing not intentional and there's nothing bad in you. There's always more, and there's only more and more and more, and there's only better and bigger. Then you understand that you are created as a giant in physical and in spiritual world. It's just a matter of you changing perspective from yours to his, seeing you in the full potential that he prepared for you. So listen, this is what I want you to take from this video. For so many reasons, we look at ourselves and see only weaknesses. It's hard to see our strengths and hard to have your self-esteem or kind of look at yourself and be proud of yourself. But that's why I wanted you to see, to pay attention to details, to understand that God never creates something which is incomplete or bad or insufficient. It's all about understanding why he created you this way and understanding how to look at yourself, how to use and embrace your strengths, how to look at your weaknesses, what you're supposed to do with them, or how you're supposed to understand them, to see this as another strength. How to then use the things that are stand out to see this sea of potential that he put in you. Not just potential, but something that he wants you to achieve. Something that's supposed to make you this amazing, sophisticated machine. And how all of this and understanding this and starting to seeing this and acting on it in practice will prepare you for the calling of yours, which was created for this giant that you are from his perspective, not the small person that you see yourself. So listen, think about it and do something about it. Because it's all about stopping simply praying. Give yourself and him permission for him to visit you, to make these visitations with you in your praying closet. Because then he will show you the world and he will show you how you're supposed to look at yourself through his eyes of this genius creator. If you like this video, like, share, comment. If you didn't, comment as well. Tell me what you think and what's your experience. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, just give me a shout. I'll be glad to do it for you. That being said, see you tomorrow.